What's going on, everybody? Thanks for watching my channel. I'm here to help you play better guitar and understand some things about guitar. And today I'm going to explain how to adjust the action on the guitar and the neck. How to adjust your neck? Well, it's related to the action, so you really can't do one without the other. I mean, sometimes you can, but in this video I'm going to explain the relationship between the action and the neck so you can do your neck adjustment, because a neck adjustment sometimes requires an action adjustment. And I appreciate you watching the other video on the intonation, and that's why I'm following up with this video, because I was planning on following up with an action video anyway. And you guys are already on me to do it, so here it is. But when you do the action or the neck, sometimes they're both involved together, so I'm going to show the action, or the neck adjustment rather, including the action adjustment, because if you have to do an action adjustment after your neck adjustment, and you don't know how, well, then you've only gotten halfway there, and you're still not going to, the guitar isn't going to be the way you want it to be. So a lot of times you might need to follow up with an action adjustment, and I'm going to do that for you today. Actually, what's going to happen is I'm going to explain it to you because I can't show you. It's not something you'll see in a video. You would barely see it if you were in person. You really would have to use measurmental tools in order to be able to see the adjustments we'd make live. So I'm going to explain to you what to do. And I know by the end of me explaining it, you should understand it because I'm usually very thorough. But I will walk you through the steps of how to adjust it and what you're doing, so you know what you're doing. Although I will say this, I would not do your first time adjustments on a guitar that you actually care a lot about. I would not do that. So for those of you who don't have an inexpensive guitar to practice on, I would not do this on a guitar that you love, because if you just mess it up, I mean, then you're dealing with the fact that you messed it up, whether you cracked something or broke something. There's a little bit of truth to you can damage your guitar if you don't know what you're doing. Yes, if you spin the nut too far, you can definitely crack the rod inside the neck, and then your neck is no good. And if it's a bolt-on neck, you can get another one. It's just not going to have the exact feel of the neck you love, so you don't really want to be putting on another neck if you don't have to. If it's a neck through or like a one piece, then the guitar's totaled. So wouldn't make any sense to learn how to do this on your best guitar. You certainly wouldn't want to learn to fix your car if you buy a brand new Corvette or something. Wouldn't be out of my driveway jacking that thing up, you know what I mean? So it's the same kind of concept. I would not attempt any of this on a guitar that you value. Whether it's monetary value or sentimental value, it doesn't matter. If you love the guitar and don't want to risk damaging it, then I would get something else to do this on. Although, if you go really slow, I guess, it doesn't hurt. If you go really slow, I guess you really can't damage it, But I'm in no way responsible for what you do with your instrument, okay? I'm going to tell you what to do. That's basically how I can do it, but I'm very thorough, so I'm pretty sure when I'm done you'll understand what to do. I'm going to use this nail file to explain to you how the neck works. And by the time you're done looking at this nail file, you will understand what you're going to do with your guitar. Now, I'm sure you're over there saying to yourself, what the hell is this guy talking about? Well, I've been doing this for probably longer than most of you even been alive, so trust what I'm saying because it's true. And here we go. So, the neck. You have this plate back up here. Usually you'll take this off, or every time you'll take it off. I didn't take it off because you can't see me make any adjustments, so there's no point in me taking it off. But I'm telling you that your adjustment is in here. It's an Allen head. On most guitars, it's just an Allen wrench. On a Gibson, it's the opposite of an Allen wrench. It's the Allen wrench head. It's the female side. Most of these are male. So you use an Allen wrench to go into the female hole. On the Gibson, it's the opposite. The female end is on the wrench, and the male end is on the guitar. So Gibson decides to be different and make things slightly more difficult. So yes, of course, they're not going to do things easy. Why would they do that? Then it makes things easy. And they're not in the business of making anything easy. So if you have a Gibson, you got to get a special tool from them, or, from like Stuart McDonald or something. Otherwise, you can just go to a regular hardware store and get Allen wrenches and be done, which is the way I like to do it. So anyway, you need an Allen wrench. You're going to get in here, and I'm going to explain to you how this works. So your neck sits something like this. Now, to the human eye, you can't tell anything about the curve in this neck. But let me explain to you with this nail file how your neck really works. And that's where you're like, what the heck's he talking about? Well, I'm going to show you. Your neck, this is your neck. This is your neck when it's flat. Your neck should have a small amount of concave radius to it like this. Your neck wants to sit like that. That's the way the guitar is designed to sit. So think of this side as your nut, and this side is your bridge. The bend in the neck is in the middle like this. Now you want to have a little bit of curve in your neck. When you don't have this curve, it's not playing ideal because, again, they designed the guitar to be like this. Now, some guitars wind up like this. And this is when your guitar buzzes most of the time. Once in a while, it can buzz when it's properly set like this. So let me explain the buzzing. The buzzing takes place when this neck ends up going from this, slowly works its way to this, flat, and then even can go like that. I'm lined up with my mouth. Let's get it lined up with my beard. Now, when your neck is like this, you're definitely going to buzz all day, every day, and even on Sunday. When the neck is like this, it can buzz out here, buzz out here. So we have to figure out why you're even adjusting your neck in the first place. Now, if you're adjusting your neck because you get buzzing in the middle of the neck, meaning between like the 7th and 15th frets, and that means you probably got some concave bow like this. The opposite, you got, this is called back bow. So you'd have some back bow in your neck if your guitar is buzzing between, let's say, the 5th fret and, say, 15. You probably have some back bow. If your neck is buzzing between the 1st and 5th frets and after 15, well, then you just have an action issue because you probably, if your neck is, I'm assuming your neck is like this, which means you don't have any bow in the middle. Because when your neck is like this with the concave, you don't buzz in the middle of the neck. You buzz to the outsides if your action is too low. So if you have the proper neck adjustment, but you're still getting a buzz, it means the outsides, it's probably buzzing out here and the action is just dropped too low. So you would just raise the action, which I will go over in a minute. Now, if you're buzzing in the middle of the neck, then you have a back bow like this, and we need to get rid of that. I'm going to explain how that works. All right, so now you understand what the neck does. Concave, flat, back bow. We want a little bit of concave because every guitar, 99% of them are, I don't know what the number is, but most of them are designed to be with a slight amount of bow. If you've got a guitar, like a shredder style guitar, then a lot of them want the neck to be more flat. And then you just adjust that more flatness into your neck. So what you're going to do is when you take this cover off, you're going to see the Allen wrench hole in there. It's a hole for an Allen wrench. In case you don't know what one is, it's one of these little guys. You're just going to jam it right into the hole and you're going to turn. I'm going to explain how that works. Again, I'm not going to turn mine because there's nothing wrong with mine. I'm not going to do it. But I'm going to tell you what to do. So, when you're holding the guitar and you turn to the right, right, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. So when you turn to the right, so if your guitar is laying like this, and you have your tool into your guitar, right, and you're going to turn this thing, you turn it like this now, and you're turning it to the right, turning it towards you, like you're going to tighten it. When you tighten it, you are taking out the bow in the neck. So when you turn this Allen head to the right, you're going to take your neck and you're going to wind up putting in the bow. So if your neck is really bowed too far like this, we need to bring you to here. So if your neck is like this, you turn it to the right, and little by little, it'll tighten up your neck and bring it straight like this. If you keep going too far, it'll wind up like this. Now, if you're starting with your neck bowing in the middle of the guitar, your guitar buzzes between the 5th and 13th or 15th frets, you have some back bow. What that means is you've got to turn it the opposite way. Lefty-loosey will now put the cave. First it'll flatten it, and it'll reduce the stress to the point where it's like this. When you reduce the tension on the neck by turning the rod to the left and loosening it, you'll feel it loosen. You're creating the bow. You're reducing the tension on the neck, and it creates this bow. As you increase the tension on the neck by turning to the right, righty-tighty, you end up doing this. If you go too far, you break it. That's your neck now. Now that's what you get, folks, if you go too far. Okay? You keep bending. You're turning the rod. It goes straight. You're thinking, I want it more. I want a little more high. You're like, I want the action a little better. You want the strings a little close. So what guys will do is they'll try to put a teeny weeny bit of back bow, and the next thing you know, kabang, kaboom, They've broken it. They've snapped the rod inside, or what they've really done is they've cracked the grain inside where the rod runs along the neck. So your rod runs right in here, right along the back here. Some guitars you'll see an actual piece of wood that's a different color along the center strip. That's where they drop the rod in and just fill it in. Now, when you spin that rod too far, the rod is in the neck like this and it's spinning. Well, the rod itself has a little curve in it like this, so that when you turn it, it moves the wood. And if you turn it too far, it breaks. So that's why when you're doing this, you're going from this little at a time, you're checking it. You're here. You can feel it on the guitar. So what you're going to do is you're going to adjust it a quarter of a turn at a time. A quarter of a turn means if I'm here, right? Let's see if I can show you this. I'm straight. A quarter turn would be one turn. So if this sits like this, a quarter turn goes like this. One. And then a half a turn. And then 3/4. And now we are back. You know what a quarter turn is. It's 1/4 of a hole. So you move 1/8 to a quarter of a turn. So example, if I'm in here, I might turn this thing a little bit, just like that. Just a tweak. A little tweak. A little movement. You turn it a little bit. A quarter of a turn at a time. And then you check the neck. Now what you're going to, you really need a straight edge, which is what we call it, which is a straight piece of metal that you would lay on the frets like this. And you'd be able to see if it's touching the guitar or not. The straight edge will ride along the frets and show you if it's touching or not. And this is the guide that you're going to use to determine the bow in your neck. So when you put the straight edge on it and the straight edge touches from the first fret to the last fret, you will see where there's a gap in the fret underneath your straight edge. And that gap means there's bow. When there's no gap, it means you got back bow. So if the center of this is touching the fret, then you have back bow. When your straight edge is running from one end all the way to the other, there should be a little bit of gap in the middle of the frets where the cave would be in the neck. So when you run your straight edge on your guitar, the fretboard should look like this a little bit. You should have a little bit of cave so that under the center of this fretboard, when you run your long straight edge, under the center, it should not be touching in here because you have a little bow. And that's how you tell if you have enough. Now, the poor man's way of doing that, if you don't have a straight edge, which a lot of you I'm sure don't, then you're going to do this the poor man's way. You're going to put a finger on the first fret. You're going to take the thumb of your other hand and you're going to put it where the guitar neck meets the body. So on this guitar, something like one of these, the body meets the guitar right about here. That's where it goes in. So right about here, I'm going to touch the fret. I'm going to fret it with my thumb. I'm fretting with my first finger. And now I'm checking the gap between the string from here to here. I want to know if there's anything there. So I'm going to take my other hand where my thumb is holding it. I'm going to reach out with my middle finger and I'm going to touch the 7th fret. I'm going to press it. And I'm going to look while I'm pressing. And if there's a gap between the string and the fret, you have a little bit of bow. If there's no gap, you have no bow. And so that would help you that would tell you if you need to put bow in the neck or not. If there's no small amount of gap between your string and the frets here, when you push down, if the string is resting on the fret, then your neck is flat or has back bow in it. And you want a little bit of bow. So you're going to loosen the truss rod nut a little bit to create the bow. And when you tighten the truss rod, you're taking out the bow. And you'll know long before you break it, because long before it breaks, this string, as you create the back bow, will be when you put your finger on the guitar here and you push down on this middle fret. If there's no space, you already know you have back bow, so you wouldn't go any farther continuing to adjust it the wrong direction. So it's very easy to tell. And that is basically what you're going to do. You're going to use this nut, lefty, loosey, righty, tighty. When you righty tighty it, you're getting rid of the bow. You keep tightening, you're going to go like this. Loosening it brings you like this. You can loosen it all the way and you'll never hurt the thing. You just don't want to take it all the way out. You try not to do that because God forbid it doesn't go back. It will go back most of the time, but the idea is you don't want to unscrew the rod completely out of the guitar. So you don't just go cranking away to the left. Although when you do, it'll be all the way down like this, and then you just kind of bring it back like this. And the idea is not to move these adjustments. When you make this adjustment, you don't make them too far at a time. It's a little turn. It's a little turn, a little turn. You check. Little turn, you check. This is a game of patience. If you're somebody who doesn't have patience, do not attempt this. This is for people who have patience and don't mind fiddling with minute adjustments. Minute meaning minimal adjustments. You might be there half an hour just to make small little adjustments. So that's what it takes to adjust the neck. Now, when you adjust the neck and you take out this bow, let's say you get the bow where you want it. You got a little bit of bow like this, and now the guitar is still buzzing. It means you're probably low on the sides. So what has to happen is you've got to raise the action over here because it's now too low on the ends. So if you have the correct the correct bow in your neck, but you're still buzzing, most likely you're buzzing outside of the concave area. You're buzzing over here. You're buzzing over here because the strings are sitting too low. In that case, you're coming over to the bridge here, and you're going to adjust your saddles. Now you're going to need a very, very, very small Allen wrench, one of these, but a smaller one that fits into these little Allen holes. It's pretty self-explanatory. You're going to, let's see if I can just get I use this style Allen wrench, one of these little guys, and you just go right in here. You put it in, and you turn them. Now, these saddles, when you turn the screw to the right, it raises the saddle. You have 2 screws per saddle, a left side and a right side. They got to be centered. See that? There's 2 screws right there. Whatever you do to this one, you're going to do the same thing to that one because you want the saddle sitting flat. So as you adjust, like if this pick is the saddle, if you only adjust one side, it's going to sit like this. If you adjust the other side, it's going to sit like that. When you bring them up together, it'll sit like that. So you're going to just turn these screws, starting with a half, whatever amount it is to take it to move it. You move it a little bit, you do the other side, you move the other one a little bit as well, and you notice that your saddle rose up a little bit. It'll sit higher than the rest of them, and you will check it against the buzzing. So if it's still buzzing, you continue to raise it. And you do such small amounts of adjustment, because if you're only 1/1000th of an inch away from it not buzzing anymore, you don't want to turn it 3/1000ths. Now you're sitting 2/1000ths higher than you really need to be if you're looking for the super low action and you want the string riding right over the fret. Then you got to get it just over the fret and then stop. As soon as the string stops buzzing, you stop adjusting to give yourself the lowest action possible. The more you raise it, the higher it is, and the harder it is to play. So you're looking at that ratio of how high off the fretboard do you want the string? Well, if you want the lowest amount of action possible, then as soon as it stops buzzing, you stop. Now on the thicker strings, you're going to raise them a little higher because they're wound bigger and the circumference is bigger. So the string has to come up a little more when you raise these. And if you have to, if you raise it too much, you go back down. But whenever you go back down, try to go down the same amount from the left screw to the right screw. And you're going to adjust the height of these. If you have a Gibson style guitar, you cannot adjust it on each individual string. You will adjust the 2 screws that are dropped into your bridge up top, and you will do a 1/4 of a turn on the left one and a 1/4 of a turn backed off on the right one, and you will back off a 1/4 of a turn at a time, or maybe an 1/8 of a turn at a time. A little at a time, you back off until each side until you get what you want. Now, being that it's a Gibson style bridge, you may not have to do both sides because when you do the bottom one, you're adjusting technically the first 3, the skinny 3 on this side, and the right one will do the skinny 3 on this side, the fat ones on this side of your Gibson. And then you play a balancing game with the 2 screws to get it right where you want it. And that is what you're doing. So when you take the bow out of your neck, you may have to adjust the action because if the action is too low, it will hit on the sides, as I said before. So the first thing you do is you adjust your neck. Now, some guys, when they know the action is really low and it's buzzing, they'll raise the action up and then get the neck where they want it. And then once they have the curve in the neck where they want it, they will begin to mess with the strings and the height of the strings. You can do it 2 different ways. You can adjust the neck and then see if it buzzes, then play with the strings and do a dance between the 2 of them together. Or you can just raise the strings up, get the neck where you want that so you know the neck is where you want it, and then you play with your action later on. And then when you play with that action, you may have to find a balance between the amount of curve in the neck and how close the strings are, because that's the game that's going to customize your playability on your guitar. Everyone has to balance the amount of curve in the neck, how close they want the strings, because that's a game. Everybody's guitar is different. The more curve might require more higher action. Less curve requires lower action. So ideally, what you're trying to do is put the least amount of curve in the neck so you can get the action as low as you can. Because again, every guitar is different. The flattest necks out there allow for the lowest action. So it's just a game of every guitar. Put the curve in the neck, bring the strings down, find that balance, and that's what you're doing. So when you get the neck where you want it and you drop your strings, if they're too high and you still don't like that, you want it a little lower, you want the strings a little lower, then pull a little more relief out of your neck. Tighten your neck a little bit, get rid of some of that curve, make it more, make the neck flatter if you want, and it will bring the center of the neck closer up. It will bring the action closer. So there's a balancing game between the action out here and the action in here is where you want it to buzz, because a lot of guys, like a Jackson guitar, the neck sits flat and the strings are just right on top of it. So it all depends on what you want from your guitar. But at the end of the day, if you have to adjust the action, the height, string height with the neck, with your truss rod, you will be playing a game of how much relief here to how low you want it here. It's a game on every guitar. And once you know your guitar, you'll know exactly where you want it. And when you get it where you want it, it doesn't go out that far from that spot if you keep on it periodically. Right? So that is the way you adjust things. If I've left anything out or you have another question, let me know in the comments and I will easily answer your question for you. I think I covered everything that's on a fixed bridge guitar. There really isn't. It's not as bad as people say. Everyone says you can break the guitar. Yeah, that's if you go 2 full turns without even checking anything. You just start wrenching on the neck, and that's like saying you're gonna crash your car if you just leave your foot to the floor. I mean, it doesn't matter what road you're on. You'll crash anywhere you leave your foot to the floor if you just hammer down. So it's the same thing as that. If you just hammer down on the nut, start cranking the thing, I guess you can break it. But who would do that? Like you're removing little movements at a time. Like if you're going 25, how you totaling the car? You're only going 25. So, small speeds don't total the car. Yeah, you might bang it up. But that's like saying if you go a small amount, you might go too far. But you only want a small amount, you just loosen it up. If you're going huge amounts, one of those huge amounts you're going to hear a crack. So don't go big amounts. Any questions? Leave a comment. Guys, thanks for watching. That's how you adjust everything. That is your neck adjustment with height. So we've got the intonation taken care of. You know how to adjust your neck with your height. There really isn't much more, just your pickups. Pickups, you just put the screwdrivers into the screws. You press down on the strings at the highest end of the guitar where you'd fret the note, so that if you fret a note out here, this is as close as this is as low as the strings will ever be. Then you adjust the pickup height with that little screw right there. But when you adjust your pickup height, you're always fretting your strings at the farthest place you play the guitar. If you don't ever play down here and the highest place you play is over here, well, then it doesn't matter what the strings are doing over here. Grab the guitar here, flatten them down, and adjust your pickup height. Now, if you have a Floyd Rose, they have to adjust it. You have to pull your bar back and see it when your bar drops and your strings drop that they don't hit the pickups. So then you have to play that game on a Floyd Rose. And guys, that's adjusting the guitar. If you have any other questions, I'll say it one more time. Leave me a comment. I love your comments. Even if you hate what I'm doing and you think my videos suck, then leave me a comment. I'm not going to delete your crappy comments. I'll leave everybody else to just say what they want to say. But I'm trying to help you out, trying to save you a little money, get you to be able to adjust your own guitar the way you want it, because really you're going to personalize the way you set it up. Once you get used to action, intonation, neck adjustments, you're personalizing your own setup, and that is definitely going to help you play better, because it's like driving somebody else's car with all the seat adjustments the way they want it and the mirrors the way they want it. Sure, you can still drive it, but it obviously is not the most comfortable situation for you. Well, same thing here. The most comfortable way for you to play your guitar is to set it up exactly the way only you want it. And that's what these 2 videos combined are going to do. So thanks for watching. I'll see you in another video. I got more stuff coming out, more great ideas, more great topics. Keep your comments coming. I love all of them. Thank you for watching.